Welcome to AIW's The Card is Going to Change. Sponsored by the This Is Awesome Wrestling Show and Smart Mark Video. This episode, we were going to go over some of the alumni. Some stars that have made their way through AIW. Some stars that have come back to the wrestling scene. Some old stars. And some young guys that went on to bigger and better things. So.
Whoa, what's with this better thing?
Hey, no.
We have John Thorne and Chandler Biggins in studio, and what the format of this show is going to be, I'm going to say a name, and the two guys are just going to ramble on about them, stories, maybe good or bad, about certain stars.
Probably more bad than good.
So we're going to jump right into it.
Man, people are going to be like, oh, man, those fucking guys are so negative. Fucking stop being so sensitive, man. We're being real.
Of course, you can follow the show on iTunes, Stitcher, AIWrestling.com. You can download it. You can subscribe, leave a comment, rate to The Card is Going to Change, presented by AIW. All right, first name right off the bat, Sonny.
Oh, the
commissioner, Sonny. Man, oof. She definitely was not as controversial back then as she is today.
So let's go back to the year 2007.
2007. I met Sonny in Philadelphia at the ECW Arena at a Pro Wrestling Unplugged show. I was there as the guest of East Coast professional wrestling superstar Teddy Fine. For all you East Coast listeners out there, I'm sure Mike versus Philly at least knows who he is. That might be it. But
Words.
Words.
What up, Words?
Words probably definitely knows. But so we somehow started booking this Teddy Fine guy, and then like we would party with him, and he was like, "Hey, come out to Philadelphia. I'm wrestling at the ECW Arena. You can stay with me. We'll party, whatever." There was all these fucking weird names on the show. Like the Nasty Boys were there, and they made me fucking carry their bag to the car. But so like Sonny was there, and I like got her number because I was like, "Oh hey, I'd love to book you sometime." Because like Sonny was like, she was a pretty big deal in the 90s, and she hadn't really had that much bad publicity, up until 2007, other than like the wrestling vixen stuff. But
and this was like in the midst of her big comeback, I think too.
Yeah, so she would like text me on holidays like "Happy Thanksgiving," like we never talked. Like I was just like, we exchanged numbers, and like she would always be like "Happy Thanksgiving," "Merry Christmas," "Happy Easter," whatever the fuck it was. And then like, so AIW kind of splits apart from like how we started.
That's a whole nother episode.
And like we're going in a new direction, and we have a new partner on board, and he sets us up with this new venue, Mulberry's in the Flats, that's still there today. And it's before it opened though. We were the first thing they ever had going in there for like the first year of his existence. And through them, we always kind of get things before we're ready for them, and then like it kind of falls apart. We get sponsored by Coors Light, like straight up, like you're like corporate sponsorship. Coors Light, they're gonna run Coors Light specials through our events. This is like our first event after splitting away from people. We have this new partner on that's supposed to be like super business savvy or whatever, and he lands us this deal with Coors Light like right out of the rip. So we're like, fuck it, like let's book Sonny. People want to come meet Sonny, and so Coors Light gives us all this fucking money, and like we book, I call back Sonny after all the Thanksgiving text messages or whatever it was, and we work out this deal, and Coors Light like paid for the whole fucking thing, and like she came, and like she was just like such a disgusting fucking person to be around.
Like she was showing pictures of her bowel movements
and like bloody tampons and shit. Like she thought
like it killed the fantasy that everybody had.
Yeah, it killed any fantasy you ever had of Sonny. So anyway, like we're like, well, what is she gonna do? And like we think we're gonna have this Coors Light sponsorship, so we're like, let's make Sonny the fucking commissioner. So, like, we never had a commissioner.
We could have get Michael Chiklis to be the commissioner.
So we booked. What a dated reference that was, man.
Sorry.
Oh, fuck. Jesus, nobody even knows what that means.
Words in Mike versus Philly, guarantee they know the commission.
But so anyway, we make Sonny the commissioner.
And at one point in the ring, it's me, her, and Steve Corino like in a corner.
And like, so fucking the show fucking bombs like so badly.
Like 40 people, maybe.
We had like 40 people. Nobody.
Chris Hero on the card, Tyler Black, Claudio Kingston.
All these fucking people. Steve Corino fucking, and like the show.
Steve Corino main event versus the Duke.
Yeah, whoa, barn burner. So the show fucking bombs, and then we try to book the commish Sonny for other dates, and like she starts making these kind of weird demands, like to get like different flights that were like super expensive.
And I think at one point for like a regular show, she was gonna arrive at like 8:00, and the show started at 7:30 or something.
Yeah, so like, needless to say, we had a falling out with the commish, and I guess she still technically is the commissioner because we never fired her, but she was the commissioner for at least a day, and
Now she gets fucked in the butt on film, so good for her.
wow, that was very specific.
All right, number 2, Tyler Black, a.k.a. Seth Rollins.
Tyler Black, he was like booked super early in AIW. It's simply through DJZ, Zima Ion, Shima Zion.
And at the time, I think his first show was 2005, 2006.
It was either late 2005 or like the first show 2006. I would have to look, but like we were running concert clubs. Like hardcore music was like super fucking popular. Like the club we were running was like it was a hardcore music like club. Like they would always have hardcore bands there, like fucking all these different bands that were super hot at the time, like fucking Bury Your Dead and fucking like Unearth and all these hardcore bands. So like Shima Zion, DJZ, he like shows me this like Ida Bay Mid-South DVD, and it's just, dude, he comes out and he's fucking hardcore dances and he has this cool look and he has this cool gimmick.
And what I was bringing up about Timeline was he had a music video at the time, and he was one of the few guys with the creation of YouTube that had a music video. And like I remember that music video was just killer, like you were saying about
yeah. Like he was like one of the, I don't know if he did it or somebody did it, but like in like the infancy of YouTube, he had this like awesome video package on like online, and DJZ was like, you got to book this guy, you got to book this guy, you got to.
It was the end of 06, Gauntlet for the Goal 06 in December of that year,
and so we ended up booking him, and I think he wrestled for us for like almost 2 straight years or something like that.
13 shows, I think.
13 or 14 shows. Like, that was at a time where we weren't running every month too. But like, he was consistent. Like he was like a guy in the roster. And when, AIW had this split, which who knows if we'll ever get into detail on that. But him, Corey Graves, Sterling James Keenan, and Michael Tarver, Tyrone Evans, they were like the only 3 guys to stick with us and stick with AIW, and like everyone else went to work for this other company when we kind of split apart. And like they were kind of the only guys that had our back, and like we built, our new vision or whatever around
and
those guys.
He definitely became like a backbone type of guy.
And like we were booking him before Ring of Honor or Wrestling Society X or any of that stuff. Like he was just this dude. He would drive from Iowa to AIW, back to Iowa the same day, like 8 or 9 hour drives. Like he would come with Shane Hollister sometimes, and like he was just on every show. And like we don't have like this crazy like friendship with him or whatever. It was kind of like more of like a business thing. But he everything he did, like he was one of the guys that kind of helped draw attention to AIW early on, before we really even deserved it, because we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. Like there was a lot of bad, but like Tyler Black was definitely one of the kind of like shining stars of the early days.
Crazy thing about you were saying he drove like 9-10 hours is a lot of times there were shows where all the local people would cancel because of weather. Like I know in 2007, we had a show where almost the whole card no-showed because of weather.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a Gauntlet for the Gold, and that's how we started. It was a show that like ran a couple years in a row, the Nightmare Before Christmas, because there was a blizzard and like nobody fucking came to the show. But Tyler Black coming from Iowa in a like blizzard where there was like literally 2 feet of snow outside. He still fucking.
So the people that live 10 minutes away canceled, but the person that drove 10 hours was there. It was like
because I mean he had that kind of mindset. Was like,
I'm gonna make it.
I'm not fucking missing a show. This is what I want to do. And like there's a lot of guys that have that mindset, like guys like Jimmy Jacobs and stuff. Like there's no fucking way that Jimmy Jacobs, Tyler Black, those guys were not gonna miss a show no matter fucking what. But like dudes that like lived in Cleveland were like, I can't make it, man. There's a blizzard. So like that just kind of goes to show you like how determined he was to honor his commitments and kind of make his name however he can.
And like the quick thing I would say about Jimmy Jacobs is Jimmy Jacobs became like a utility player for us at one point. Like anytime somebody no-showed or somebody couldn't make it or got hurt, he would be there and he would just bury the person saying, I'll never cancel a booking. He's like, my leg could be hanging off.
Yeah.
And I would still be
There's
there.
just like you kind of that era of dudes. There was just like this like, I'm not.
Nothing's
gonna stop me. I'm a fucking professional wrestler.
And look where they all are.
And you know, kind of like one of the only times we really hung out with Tyler Black, he did order heart-shaped pancakes from Denny's. That's kind of like the only funny story I really have.
All right, let's go to Bryan Danielson, a.k.a. Daniel Bryan.
And we had him his last match before going to WWE, and we had him his third match after getting fired.
Yeah, that's Bryan Danielson was 100% like Colt Cabana.
Because we had emailed him, I don't think it ever got a response.
Yeah, like Colt Cabana used to just come and like stay at my house for days. When I lived in this house in Parma, and Colt Cabana would just like be traveling through town or what. You know, this is before like podcast Colt Cabana. This is like just
got fired from my dream job.
Yeah, just fired WWE Colt Cabana, and like we had booked him before WWE too, but he would just like come and stay, and like we would always kind of like have all these ideas, like we were like, hey man, you should do a shoot interview, but you should produce it yourself. Don't let anybody else make money off you. So like we just sat up in my basement one day and like made a Colt Cabana shoot interview, and we're like, here you go, man, you make all the money.
Matt Classic shoot,
and like we did a Matt Classic thing. So like one of these,
not that they're the same person,
right? So one of these times he's like in the basement, like where we would always hang out at this house that I lived in, and we're just like, man, we want fucking Bryan Danielson one day. And he's like, dude, well, I got this fucking crazy idea. I love Beyond the Mat. I want to make a wrestling documentary. Nobody makes cool wrestling documentaries. And I want to get like me and Bryan Danielson in a car, and we're just going to go to fucking, we're just going to go to indie bookings. And like, he's like, I'm going to set this up, like, and I'm going to make this happen for you guys. So, you just think it's like one of those things. You know what I mean?
And he had to even talk to us like, do you guys know anybody running Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday or...
Yeah, so like he finally irons out this Wrestling Road Diaries thing, and then he's just like, hey, I need you guys to have a show on a Thursday night on whatever the date was. And we're like, fuck. Like, how do you have a show on a Thursday night? He's like, you will get Bryan Danielson, myself, and Sal Renaro.
It was September 2009. I don't remember the date.
For virtually nothing. And we're like, fuck.
I think it was $100 a piece.
Yeah, like we paid him like $100.
Wow. Which is ridiculous.
But so Drew Cordero from Beyond Wrestling, he was kind of like almost like an intern at the time for AIW. He was always helping us out trying to do these deals. He was just living out here. And this is like before Beyond Wrestling existed. And like he worked at this place, the Ghostly Manor, but they had another promotion running there. And like Drew Cordero kind of worked this deal out for us to have this show in Sandusky, Ohio at the Ghostly Manor. And it was just like, we're going to have Bryan Danielson and Colt Cabana, and we're going to fill it out with AIW guys. And, we did Bryan Danielson versus Johnny Gargano. That's really Johnny Gargano's first real big time match. This is before Gargano was working for, Evolve or Gabe or any of this stuff.
Or he was with them, but he was like the opening card dark match.
Yeah, he's just like a local guy still at this point almost. So that's kind of the story on that. And then, he had one more show, which is for Ring of Honor. We had his last like non-Ring of Honor show. And then when he got fired, we were trying to get him for Absolution 5 2 weeks out. And I was texting him and calling him, and he didn't respond.
Because Chikara had announced him, I think, right?
No, nobody had announced him. And I knew that when the WWE calls you, they call you private. So I star 67 my phone and I called him after he'd been ignoring all my contact. I called him from a private number. He answers on the first ring. This is literally like days after he got fired. And like, I'm kind of a piece of shit, but I'm thinking he's going to think WWE's calling him. I'm going to at least get him on the phone. And so he answers, and, I present, the date to him and all this stuff. And he's just like he's confused. You know what I mean? Because it's just an indie booking. And like, he finally agrees to it. So we booked him with like 2 weeks notice. And there was like a Ring of Honor show like 2 days later in Buffalo, and myself and Drew Cordero like made some shitty Kinko's flyers, and like we drove to Buffalo. Colt Cabana got us on the Ring of Honor guest list, and like we flyered for AIW in Buffalo. Like, hey, Bryan Danielson's first match back from the Indies. Then within that 2 weeks, like Chikara announced and things like that. So we actually ended up being his third match. But like, we fucking drew so many people from out of town by going and flyering that Ring of Honor show.
And we still have people that come from
and
that
like we
flyer.
retained like a ton of people from Buffalo, like a fan base based off of that. So that's kind of that story kind of condensed.
Bryan Danielson, though, one of the coolest dudes we ever booked. Somehow, I don't even remember how I got the task, but somehow, since I was already going to Chikara in Detroit, Quackenbush had asked me to be his handler, and I'm like, absolutely. So I spent the entire weekend with him, ate Panera Bread with him, his favorite restaurant. Couldn't be a nicer dude. Probably has no idea who I am right now.
Yeah, not a fucking. He probably doesn't remember AIW at all, but like,
And like in his book, he mentions both matches, which I thought was crazy, but he refers to them as Cleveland.
Yeah, so I mean, whatever. But we had Bryan Danielson, and like it helped us, like it helped kind of legitimize us a lot in a time where we were like, still kind of like AIW fucking sucked. I'm not even gonna lie.
And it's so crazy how humble he was, because I'm like, dude, you're the hottest thing right now. And
You're
he
the
didn't
best.
believe me.
You're the best wrestler in the world, and he was just a dude, man. So
And
that's pretty cool.
the first night at Chikara in Michigan, he was going out to sell his like gimmicks after the show, and he's like, "Oh man, if I sell like 4 or 5, I'll be happy." Sells out of everything immediately.
Yeah, so I mean, he's just a humble dude. So it was, we only booked him twice, but it was fucking awesome both times.
And like to see his success, it was awesome.
All right, next one on the list. This is a random one. Sami Callahan.
Oh God, I would just like he was just a dude that would come and like wrestle for free, because he lived in Ohio, and
Because when we had the split in 2007, he was a guy that like he's like, "Oh, I love wrestling. I live in Ohio. Book me."
he was just like a guy that was kind of like he would do anything to like make his name. It's before he was like anybody, and he would just come and like like I'll wrestle if you pay me for graphic design, or I'll design your DVD covers or things like that. And then as like I'm not going to go into all the details, but as he kind of got some more success, he got a big head, and then he starts kind of like turning into this kind of like piece of shit. And it's just a guy that we kind of went our separate ways, I'll say.
And I think we are better off for it. Like, I know he's a guy that everybody wants to know the dirt and why we won't book him. And, like, it would take hours and hours to explain why we won't book him. But just, nutshell, he's not a good person.
Yeah, and, like, some people, like, some people may think he is, and he may have, good reputations with people. Our business dealings just, they were...
He did his dirty.
Yeah, they just weren't meant... it just wasn't meant to be, and that's fine.
And like, a lot of people could look past some things, but I just don't want to book and pay a guy that's just not a good person.
All right, how about Jon Moxley, a.k.a. Dean Ambrose?
Oh, man, that's like...
I think we only had him twice.
Yeah, so like, Haley Hatred was like begging us to book him, probably because she had a crush on him or something. I don't know. But, so like, we booked Jon Moxley, who's like, this just random Ohio guy at the time, pretty unknown dude.
He really didn't even have that much buzz or anything.
Not doing anything. And we used to do shows at actually like right across the street from here. We used to do shows at the Avenue Tap House when it was put in Bay Lakewood. And like they would like give us like a couple $100 to do a show like on a Monday night. And then like Monday Night Football would play or something after we were done. And like we booked John Moxley on like a Thursday before like a Thursday night Browns game. They would have like AIW be like the lead in for like the big Browns game to get like a big crowd in there. And like we booked him for like $40 against this dude Jason Gorey, and like it was just that was really it.
And like Moxley was so like he was so nervous about being around new people. I think like he got dressed outside of the locker room because like the locker room was like I
don't know if he's nervous or if he's just like kind of like a different type of person. You know what I mean?
It was like a tarped off section of a bowling alley.
He's just like a different kind of dude. And then we booked him one other time at Absolution 4 and like a tag match. And then we had tried booking him more consistently, and like it just didn't work out. And then, you know, that's how a lot of things go. Is like you start booking these people and you get these ideas and you're trying to give them more dates, and they're just, you know, he started getting real busy real fast, and he's just all over the world.
Or like if we have like an idea for like 4 shows, but he's only available for 2 of them or something.
Right. So I mean, we only booked him 2 times. I mean, no groundbreaking relationships.
Another
with
guy
him.
I think would probably have no idea who we were.
Yeah, maybe he would know, maybe he wouldn't. I don't know. But you know, like we definitely weren't any big impact on his career whatsoever.
How about Rob Conway?
Oh, the con man.
Oh man,
Look at me.
That was honestly booked at Absolution 3 as like a $500 joke. Like we knew nobody was gonna fucking care. No disrespect to
and
Rob
$500
Conway.
was a lot when we told the story last week about how there was no doorman.
Yeah, it was like we literally just wanted to hear that entrance music. That was 100% why he was booked.
And Tolar had trained with him, so Mike Tolar.
Like Mike Tolar, like we had them do a tag match. Who was like a guy who was kind of on the cusp of getting like WWE deal. He was like from Cleveland, and he was like down at OVW, and then he kind of moved back to Cleveland to do the Indies.
He was Dolph Ziggler's best friend.
Yeah, and so he had knew Rob Conway, and they had a relationship. But like we kind of knew that like people weren't gonna necessarily like, you know, Rob Conway wasn't gonna draw us 500 people, but like we thought it was like that was kind of our first dabbling into like let's do something totally weird and outside of the box.
And people went crazy for it. It wasn't a drawing.
Yeah, it wasn't like a this is gonna make you guys a ton of money, but like it was one of those weird things like Rob Conway, and like we honestly, no bullshit, only did it to play that "Just Look at Me" theme song. That's it. Like that's the whole reason why we did it.
And the man has multiple Air Jordan jumpsuits. Every day he had a different Air Jordan jumpsuit.
Yeah, he was here for like 3 days. He just had fucking Michael Jordan like full jumpsuits on. It was awesome.
All right, next one on my random list. How about the franchise, Shane Douglas?
That's just probably like our like ECW Mark-isms, but like there's kind of a story that leads to that. So the same partner that he like left the door at Absolution 2 or whatever it was.
3. He came back though.
He came back and he was just like, hey, you know, 50th show. He was a police officer. And he had all these relationships with all these different places. So, you know, 50th show, he's like, hey, let's go back to Peabody's. That's where we started. He had been doing some work with them. You know, says he got us a sweet deal, and he's like, hey, I want to pay for a name to be on the show, and you know, I want to wrestle him as well. So
that's how it usually works.
Yeah. So anyway, we work out this deal. We think at 50th show, we've made it 50 shows. You know, let's go back to the place where we had the first, you know, probably 10 or 15 shows. Cool little story. Shane Douglas is like, you know, love him or hate him, you know, he's kind of like a revolutionary figure. Like we thought it was kind of like a cool little like, you know, nod or whatever that like, you know, we've kind of, you know, we kind of paved their own way, similar to like how Shane Douglas paved his own way through the wrestling industry. This would be a cool guy to get a promo, get on a show, talk about how we've lasted 50 shows when we probably shouldn't even have lasted 5, or even 1 for that matter. So day of, the partner that had quit at Absolution 3 and since came back, set up this deal, was supposed to pay for Shane Douglas. He shows up and he at my house early in the morning. He says, hey man, can't really go into details, but I have to quit this company. Here's $100 towards the Shane Douglas fee.
And a post-dated check.
and a post-dated check for next week. Good luck tonight. And that's pretty much the Shane Douglas story, and that ended up being probably the worst experience of our life. Not Shane Douglas's fault, but the venue kind of fucked us over.
So the venue was collecting like the front door, and we were still kind of naive at the time, because we did our own thing, and I kept going to the door in the management and saying, I got to get the money, I got to pay these guys, I got to get the money, I got to pay these guys. So right before the main event, they hand me an envelope, and inside is $67
to pay a whole show's worth of talent. When this guy who set up this deal, who was supposed to be 100% everything for free, they just wanted to keep the alcohol sales, and we kept the door. And I mean, we probably had like 100 people there or something. It turned out that there was all these hidden fees that they had told him, but he didn't tell us. So it was like we had to pay for the bartenders, the light guy, the sound guy, the security. Like we had to pay for all this stuff. So they go through and they take all the money.
Which we would have never ran there.
We would have never ran there if we would have known all this stuff, but they didn't inform us. And they go through and they take the money, and they pay all these other people. Then they give us $67 to divvy up between Shane Douglas, Corey Graves, Drake Younger, like a whole show worth of people. Like that almost for sure killed us. Like that was probably like the last time where we lost like tons of money. But like thankfully, like people were, they were understanding, and they let us pay him at a later date and stuff like that, because it was just something that was out of our hands. And I like was actually wrestling in the last match, and like we fucking like tried our hardest to like just break everything in the place, allegedly.
All right, how about a final one to wrap this volume 1, because we can go on for multiple shows.
Yeah, we do this for days.
And this could be a season.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a volume 2, 3, 4, 5. How about Sara Del Rey?
Oh, the best.
Oh, she's the best. Sara Del Rey was just, she was probably, still is like the best female professional wrestler in the world. She's just someone we had just kind of known or met through, different people.
Well, we had booked Claudio over the years, and her and Claudio are together. And
is that public knowledge?
Oh yeah,
You fucking exposing things?
I don't know. Well, allegedly. So like,
I wish people could see how red his face is right now.
So like, Claudio over the years had put us over, and we did a lot of stuff with Bryce Remsburg, so it was only a natural fit that she would come along eventually.
And like, we were kind of building the Girls Night Out brand around Haley Hatred, and we were like, who do you want to wrestle? And she was like, Sara Del Rey. So Girls Night Out 2 was the first time we ever booked Sara Del Rey. Super like easy to deal with, like super cool. Like she's like probably one of the most level-headed people we've ever had to book, and like ever. And like, she would just, she became after Girls Night Out 2, she became a staple up until
she got signed.
She left for WWE, and like she was always awesome to deal with, like always like always reliable, and always like like for somebody at her level at the time, where she was kind of the bar when it came to women's wrestling, especially in the independents in North America. You would never know it by dealing with her. Like no ego, no anything. Like there's no like crazy like Sara Del Rey story. It's just like she was just a consummate professional, and like she was just always somebody that would come and like we knew would have a fucking awesome match with whoever we put her in with. We put her in some real weird situations. Like we put her in with like a very, very, very new and young Veda Scott. We put her in there with people like Angel Dust. And she made these people look like $1 million. And never complained once.
And like a big thing about Sara Del Rey was a lot of people take over like locker rooms like in a malicious way. She kind of stepped up as a locker room leader without us even asking, but it was totally like to the benefit of AIW. It wasn't like I'm on this power trip.
Yeah, and it was just like, especially with running women's shows very early on, we were very naive to how it worked, and like how, like, not even to sound weird, but like how to even like communicate with these girls, because like, it's kind of a weird dynamic, you know what I mean? So it's like I can't go into the locker room to tell somebody something's going to change because, like, they're changing. Yeah. You know what I mean? They're like, I can't just, like, walk in and, like, there's just a bunch of naked girls around. So, like, it's a very awkward thing. And, like, Sara Del Rey, like, assumed that position, like, hey, tell me what I got to go tell everyone to do. I'm going to go, make sure everyone knows, make sure everyone's on the same pace, to where, like, up until Sara Del Rey got signed, we literally had to do nothing at Girls Night Outs except for say, like, hey, Sara, here's the card. This is what we want. And then she would go and, like, figure it all out for us. And
we would even say to people, like, oh, do you know what you're doing? Oh, yeah, Sara told me.
Yeah, so, like, it was awesome. And, like, when she left, it was like, oh, shit, like, what the fuck? Like, what do we do now? Like, because she, like, voluntarily just assumed, like, that role
like
of,
the
like,
mother role.
Yeah, like, running that locker room and, like, talking to, like, because, we were using Sara Del Rey, but, like, the rest of the locker room was super young. Like, we're using girls like Veda Scott, like Mia Yim, all, like, very, very earlier in their careers. So, like, Sara is just, like, going through and just, like, getting them all in order and, like, kind of, like, setting the precedent of, like, hey, this is how you're supposed to be. And, it was awesome. So, yeah, nothing but good things to say.
Real quick, though, Sara Del Rey almost did fight somebody at Harpo's once because she brought her own salad and they were mad at her.
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen her mad. She was ready to fist fight some waiter.
During the Royal Rumble. Yeah, like, we were watching the Royal Rumble and, like, she brought, like, her own salad in from, like, Giant Eagle. She just got a salad because she wanted to eat healthy. We're at this fucking bar watching the Royal Rumble. Man, this fucking waiter was so pissed at her and, like, for bringing her own salad in, and she about lost it on him. I thought she was just gonna fucking capo kick him right through the fucking wall. But other than that,
I don't even think she bought it at Giant Eagle. I think it's something she brought.
Yeah, like, but we were able to, like, travel with her. We were like her last weekend on the Indies, and we got to travel with her. Like, she came and did AIW and then Remix Pro, and she rode with us, so we got to spend, like, 4 hours in the car with her, and, like, she's just, like, super down to earth. Like, I haven't kept in contact with her or whatever, but, like, I'm sure, nothing has really changed. She
would remember us.
Yeah, she would definitely remember us, and she would definitely remember David the Potato, who had a weird crush on her and would always bring her Starbucks coffee.
And got heat with his girlfriend once because he drove her so much.
Yeah, one time his girlfriend dumped him because she said you spend, like, too much time with Sara Del Rey buying her coffee. But yeah, I mean, that's really it. We could probably do this word association thing for fucking ever.
Volume 1 of AIW alumni. I'm sure you're going to do 2, 3, 4, 5 of these little shows inside a show.
I hope people find this interesting. I like this podcast and this whole kind of premise because I don't know, man. Maybe people don't care. Maybe they do. But, like, I really, if I was a fan, I think this would be at least interesting to hear how promoters kind of talk, because the reality of what probably people think happens and what really happens is probably so different.
Yeah.
But yeah, please send me your feedback at John Thorne AIW on Twitter. I'm really interested to know what you think of this podcast.
And if you have any alumni that you want the guys to talk about, you guys can tweet at the guys, and also AI Wrestling on Twitter, Facebook. We're going to have these episodes sporadically throughout these sessions, so we will be talking about other AIW alumni. All right, make sure to go on Stitcher. Make sure to go on iTunes, listen and subscribe. Leave a comment, rate the show, download the show each and every week. Go to AIWrestling.com for merch, for events, for results, anything you want to check out for AI Wrestling. That's the website, AIWrestling.com. Any final thoughts, boys?
No, just thanks for listening.
Thanks.